Welcome. 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 This is AMKS, Goddess Radio, saying what you think, too afraid to say. Grow a heart. And stand up for something where you thought for everything. The Age of Darkness.
We laugh now, but they will come after us, and they will come after our children. They will close the net around us while we are playing soccer mom and soccer dad, while we are arguing over so many little things and mesmerized by so many trinkets. The net even now is closing around you and your children and your grandchildren.
How true.
It does not cause you to fear. You will be isolated from society, as has already happened. Anyone who tries to run for office who actually believes the Bible will be considered a lunatic until finally we are silenced.
AMKS.
Called things that we're not and persecuted
Goddess Radio.
Followers of Christ, but for being radical fundamentalists who do not know the true way of Christ, which of course is love and tolerance. You go down as the greatest bigots and haters of mankind in history. They've already come after your children, and for most of you, they got them. They got them through the public schools and indoctrination and the university.
We fed them to them.
And you wonder why your children come out not serving the Lord. It's because you fed them right into the devil's mouth. So little by little, the net is closing around.
You men of little faith.
Little by little. Look how fast things are going downhill just in a matter of weeks. But at the same time, know this: persecution is always meant for evil, but God always means it for good. Is it not better to suffer in this life to have an extra weight of glory in heaven? You must settle this in your mind. This is the one thing I want to say over and over.
The seed of a mustard seed.
You have a wrong idea of martyrdom and persecution. You think that these men were persecuted and martyred for their sincere faith in Jesus Christ. That was the real reason, but no one heard that publicly. They were martyred. They were persecuted as enemies of the state, as bigots, as narrow-minded, stupid people who had fallen for a ruse and can contribute nothing to society. Your suffering
the veil is dark.
So your mind must
it needs to be lifted.
With the word of God when all people persecute you and turn on you. This is no game. You want revival and awakening, but know this. For the most part, great awakenings have come only preceding great national catastrophes or the persecution of the church. I believe God is bringing a great awakening, but I believe that He is raising up young men who are strong in trust in the providence of God to be able to wade through the hell that's going to break loose on us. And it will be on us
for the lies that they told. Who will save your soul, soul.
Providence.
This is AMKS, Goddess Radio.
He is not done.
New Agers, millenniums, rising up through this darkness veil. But understand this, that it is in the last days. This is directed by Golzono
on Earth and other discoveries in the heavens that those of you who are younger will get to see unfold. You'll have all kind of problems with them, but on balance, it'll be a plus. And it'll make life much more interesting.
Talking about aliens?
I think, first of all, that there are a number of impersonal forces which are pushing in the direction
interdimensional beings. Beings.
And I also think that there are a number of technological devices which anybody who wishes to use can use to accelerate this process.
What deceit have we been told?
Imposing control.
Oh, once we've been weaving the lies that they told, we sold our souls without even knowing.
Each of these pattern recognizers is capable of connecting itself.
What weavers weave, they do not dream.
Build that hierarchy from
Utopia, sweet oblivion, seems so sweet to me.
This is a gateway to the cloud. We're going to put gateways to the cloud in our brains.
Gateway.
Have more than 300 million.
Are you there? Can you hear me?
This threat is not new. But technology and the internet increase its frequency.
And frequencies.
Cases, it's lethality.
You hear that? Lethality.
Today, a person can consume hateful propaganda, commit themselves to a violent agenda, and learn how to kill without leaving their home.
Wow. Could you do that before? You know you could.
I see virtual reality as a way not of escaping any notion of empirical reality, but as a way of reportraying invisible levels of the given world that
Of alternate
are very
dimensions,
vital and important to
illusion,
us.
deceiving your ultimate goal in life. Man down. The frequency that a human body puts off. Gamma rays, the sun puts off. Atmospheric disruption. Age of Deceit. Alchemy. The rise of the beast.
Are persuaded that silent conscious beings value their life, that life will be respected.
You can implant your consciousness in a meat sack today.
Was a literal elixir of life. It was kind of a universal vaccine.
A universal vaccine.
Searching for is quite literally the Philosopher's Stone.
The Philosopher's Stone. Wow. Does it really exist? In our world, there are mystical things that we cannot explain.
Now I'm going to get into
Part 1, Alchemy.
Great tree of knowledge and the wisdom that has
Mythologies
been denied us by
and
someone.
the Philosopher's
Someone
Stone.
who does not want us to have this knowledge. Who this someone is, I don't know.
This is Jay
I wish I
Welder
did. You know,
in
John
Hyperdimensional
Black, the
Alchemy.
great Nag Hammadi scholar, he says
Nag
he says
Hammadi.
the Nag Hammadi texts, which were found 2,000 years ago in Egypt, or they were buried 2,000 years ago in Egypt and found in 1947. What's great about
Do
the
you ever
Nag
wonder
Hammadi
if
is
those
they
things
haven't
were
been
buried
tainted
way
by
before that,
no
unburied
pope,
and then
no
reburied?
politician, no historian has rewritten anything in there. So we're reading exactly what they wanted us to read 2,000 years ago. Okay?
You notice
Nobody's
how it's
got
always
their
on
beat
stone?
no spin. The Nag Hammadi says that about 1,600 years ago before them, or about 3,600 years ago, the Earth was invaded by something called the Archons.
The Archons?
It's close to the Anunnaki. And they don't say they're beings. They describe it more like a virus, an off-planet virus.
Interesting.
And these Archons came.
The Day of
what
the
these
Dead.
Archons are is they
Or parasitic.
do not possess the divine essence that we possess. And they're really jealous of us for that. And so they're creating a world, this is what the Nag Hammadi says, a simulated world all around us. It's all simulated. And what it is trying to show
Welcome
that they
to the
can
Matrix.
create everything that the God has created, the beautiful earth,
Who wants to be
flowers
famous?
and everything. They can do just
Who wants
as
to be
good a
loved?
job as nature can do. Only they do it fake. And the point of the Archons, according to Nag Hammadi, is to make you think that their reality is the reality, not the real reality. So I suspect that's who told us we can't have the fruit of the tree of knowledge. Because once you understand what is going on here, you can free yourself of the Archons. And I believe the Archons are here. And I believe they're everywhere. And I think they are a virus.
Atlantis, Mu, Arcadia, the Holy Grail, the Philosopher's Stone. They all share a similar fable of something lost sought to be regained. According to the ancient mystery religion,
Let's not leave out the Garden of Eden.
was not a physical location on Earth, but quite literally a spiritual dimension synonymous to the heavens above. Moreover, it was believed that the sacred stone responsible for the mysterious qualities to mind and matter also came from this enigmatic point in time and space. In Celtic mythology, an immortal named Arthur of Camelot will one day return at some future time from the Isle of Avalon. Avalon in Welsh means apple, giving rise to the false notion that the fruit from the forbidden tree of knowledge, which God forbid Adam and Eve to eat, was in fact an apple. In Greek mythology, Apollo is known as the god of knowledge and light,
and of the sun,
music and medicine, and even prophecy. In the Hellenistic period, he became known as the Titan, god of the sun. His twin sister Artemis was known as Selene, or the moon goddess. The book of Acts mentions what the city of Ephesus believed to be the origin of Artemis. Quote, "And when the town clerk had quieted the crowd, he said, 'Men of Ephesus, who is there who does not know that the city of the Ephesians is temple keeper of the great Artemis, and of the sacred stone that fell from the sky?'" The Muslim Kaaba stone is yet another creation myth that mentions a sacred stone which fell from heaven to earth. The stone was thought to be a fragment of the first paradise. Islamic author Ibn Abbas states, quote, "Muhammad said, 'Indeed, the Islamic teaching of the origin of Adam say that the paradise in which he lived and was subsequently expelled was not even on the earth.'" According to historian Rundle Clark, the Egyptian creation myth
and you know they go counterclockwise on the Mecca stone, right?
This stone was believed to bring the vital essence of life from what is called the
Has anybody ever seen that stone? It's covered in a cloth, black cloth with gold.
Tells of the place where the life essence of humanity originates. Nefer Kurt, which means island or mountain of God.
And you know when the Israelites got to the mountain of God, that they had to do all these cleansings, because just to touch the mountain of God would kill them.
Of Phoenicia, otherwise known as Sidon or Tyre. The city of Tyre is mentioned in the book of Isaiah, where the king of Tyre is overlaid with the description of Satan, who had fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning.
O Lucifer, morning star?
It is evident that with this brief survey of ancient creation myths, these occult traditions have forever been the common thread between the practices of esoteric spirituality like alchemy, Hermeticism, and Kabbalah, but also of the secret orders such as the Rosicrucians, Freemasons, and even the Illuminati.
They're forgetting Buddhist and Hindu because it's all one.
Quote, "The common thread within most ancient creation stories was the union of the celestial and terrestrial at a particular time of unparalleled upheaval and change. The marriage of heaven and earth gave birth to the worldwide legends of the gods who descended from the heavens."
Wow, that's deep, right? History and origin of alchemy.
Well, alchemy is actually one of the most ancient.
This is Robert Allen Burnett.
Its origins are stretching far back into history. In the terms of
making gunpowder, turning metal, iron into gold,
and transmutation of metals. But in a broader sense, this transformation takes place on all different levels, not just a physical level, but mental and spiritual levels, and not just for metals.
So they cross the boundaries between heaven and earth. And let's not forget hell. We have 3 dimensions.
One alchemist described alchemy as celestial agriculture. And this is a sense that everything in nature is alive and transforming, going through a process of development.
This is such a true statement because everything in nature puts off a frequency. It has a harmonic balance to it, where we breathe its oxygen and they take our carbon dioxide.
Oh, yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot more than the commonly held belief that it's transmuting base metals into gold. If you look in the dictionary, that's the standard definition for alchemy, turning lead into gold. But there's quite a bit more to it than just that.
Mm-hmm. And can you go into a little more depth about the origin of alchemy?
The origins of alchemy are lost to history. Most of the scholars will agree that alchemy in the Western tradition began in ancient Egypt, possibly 10,000, 12,000 years ago.
Some believe it even came from the Druids.
Legends and stories, even back then, alchemy had a
The Nazis had the virile.
Spiritually ascended people who walked the earth and taught mankind the arts of civilization. And even in ancient times, there were fantastic stories that God taught it to Adam, later to Moses and Abraham.
Let's not forget.
Fallen angels taught it to human women in exchange for sexual favors. And these were in ancient times. In more recent times, it's been proposed that this was a technology that stemmed from Atlantean technology, that aliens brought it to Earth. But
never do they say demons. You notice that? They say angels, aliens, Atlanteans. Arcadia. It's really interesting that they brought up Arcadia. Arcadia are the gates of hell. And there was a band called Arcadia, which they had a song called El Diablo. Very cool song. This is AMKS Goddess Radio. We are listening to Age of Deceit 2. It's the alchemy and the rise of the beast image. I think the beast image is already here. There are talks of wars and nation against nation, kingdoms against kingdoms. The oceans have turned to blood. Animals are dying, left and right. Birds are falling out of the sky. Earthquakes, phenomenal, tsunamis, crazy hurricanes. Where it once was desert and dry and desolate is now drenched and flooded. And where it needs water, there is none. Our world is coming to the apocalyptic, biblical, man-made catastrophes. If man could control the weather, as God does, why don't they use their HARP technology to put the weather where it needs to be? Why do we have drought in the UK and their fields are drying? But yet, since the grass is no longer there, we can see the ruins of what was there that we never saw before. Our world is really not as we believe it to be.
It proves it to have been found on something more than pure chimerical fancies. It is impossible to separate the lead papyrus from a close relationship with its context of other papyri, as admitted by Berthello, who said, "The history of magic and Gnosticism is closely bound up with that of the origin of alchemy, and the alchemical papyrus of Lead connects in every respect with two in the same series which are solely magical and Gnostic."
I want to be famous.
We now know for sure the
Marilyn Monroe.
declassified Central Intelligence Agency documents
Freeman
that Jerry
Perspective,
Garcia was
2008.
working for the CIA. Absolutely. Spreading all this LSD and drugs to everybody, encouraging the kids to think about necromancy and communication with the dead, promoting the drug revolution. He was a CIA operative. Yes. Isn't that an amazing thing? So some people who worship Jerry Garcia, seems to be their anti-establishment. But he was par excellence establishment. What a deceit. Yes.
This is from the Freeman. Checks Mars.
And it's all around us. It's like, the Brotherhood is the filter that the stars rise up through. So here we have Demi Moore. And of course, she is a rising star. Yeah. And she just had a Kabbalistic wedding.
Yeah, she is a Kabbalist. Well, have a look at this clip, Shag.
Wow.
Always, it seems, something about to blow up around Madonna. Which brings us to the latest controversy. Her new documentary, I'm going to tell you a secret. Clearly, her belief in Kabbalah, the study of Jewish mysticism, has deeply affected her. Is the young woman who once so publicly rejected the Catholic faith of her childhood now Jewish? She attends Jewish services now.
Well, that's what some people think. I don't attend Jewish services. Straighten us out. Well, I hear the Torah, but I'm not Jewish, nor have I converted to Judaism. I think I'm connecting to something that predates religion.
Kabbalahism.
According to occult author Manly P. Hall in his infamous book,
Very
The Secret
interesting,
Teachings
man.
of All Ages, it states, quote, early initiates of the Kabbalistic mysteries believed that its principles were first taught by God to a school of his angels before the fall of man. The angels later communicated the secrets to Adam, so that through the knowledge gained from an understanding of its principles, fallen humanity might regain its lost state. The angel Raziel was dispatched from heaven to instruct Adam in the mysteries of the Kabbalah. Different angels were employed to initiate the succeeding patriarchs in this difficult science. Most esoteric authors believe that the origin of alchemy and the knowledge of the mysteries
Nephilim,
originate in
Seraphim,
ancient Egypt, in particular,
Cherubim,
named Thoth, who later became known as Hermes Trismegistus. Garth
Thoth
Bowden, in his book, The Egyptian
and Hermes
a historical
are one.
approach to the late pagan mind, states, quote, Thoth was among the most diverse and popular of all the Egyptian gods. In particular, Thoth was regarded even in the most primitive period as the moon god. Thoth came to be regarded as the origin both of cosmic order and of religious and civil institutions. He presided over almost every aspect of the temple cults, law, and the civil year, and in particular over the sacred rituals, texts, and formula, and the magic arts that were so closely related. To him, as divine scribe, inventor of writing, and lord of wisdom, the priesthood attributed much of its sacred literature, and of the occult powers latent in all these aspects of the cult of the gods, Thoth was the acknowledged source. By extension, he came to be regarded as the lord of knowledge, language, and all science, even as understanding or reason personified.
The weird thing about all this is we're now like just getting into our historical, architectural design of life, and King Solomon said there was nothing new under the sun. There's nothing new. It's all been done before. Earlier I was listening to this Hinduism and how Brahma had, it was called the Brahma, instrument of Brahm, and it was like a nuclear device.
Hermeticism is so influential that even the biblical method of hermeneutics comes from the same root, Hermes, the quote, tutelary divinity of speech, writing, and eloquence.
That's from Wikipedia. The Book of Enoch, we can't leave that out.
Many ancient cultures all around
the Book of Jasper
talk about gaining knowledge from...
This is Rob Scibio.
Aliens, they're always talking about ancient aliens. Well, it's true. I mean, that part of it is anyway. That the people around the world claimed that they had received knowledge and understanding of how to build megalithic structures and things of that nature from elsewhere. Now, I don't believe that we're talking about astronauts, ancient astronaut theory. I don't buy that. We're not talking about people from the Pleiades or Arcturus or Orion or whatever. We're talking about the archons. What are the archons? Well, first of all, it's just a Greek word. It's nothing mystical about it. The word archon just simply means chief, commander with authority. Ruler. It's talking about a person in position of
the ether, man.
In the Book of
the
Enoch,
dark
We
web.
see that 200 Watcher-class angels landed on Mount Hermon in the days of Jared. And among those 200, we are given a series of names, about 21 names. These would be the
Isn't that crazy? 200 of them, we only get 20 names.
200. And, the Book of Enoch tells you, point blank, that these angels taught men a whole lot of things, like Azazel or Azazel taught men the art of digging up the metals of the earth. And
so many different ways to pronounce something. There's a lady ashore, all her glitters are gold. She's buying a stairway to heaven.
Very similar things.
When she gets there, she knows there's a sign on the wall, but she wants to be sure because words have two meanings.
Scripture. But as we look at this following quote through the context of alchemy, we will see that it was a vital part of the teachings. The Book of Enoch, chapter 8.
This comes off with a face like the sun, you two
taught
guys.
men to make swords, knives, shields, breastplates, and fabrication of mirrors, and the workmanship.
Everything that you've heard is just shit that's being rehashed over and over and over throughout time. The Kabbalah, the Bible, the Torah. everything, and yet we do not understand God. We yet will want to play God. We screw with the DNA, genetic makeups of creatures that we have no real understanding of the outcome of it.
Times in the Bible, all in the book of Leviticus. The word Azazel means scapegoat, or more specifically, entire removal. Later, in the book of Enoch, chapter 9, verse 6, it states, quote, "See then what Azazel has done, how he has taught all iniquity on the earth, and revealed the eternal secrets that are made in heaven." Then later, in chapter 13, verse 1 and 2, Enoch delivers a message of the fate of the watchers as appointed by God. Quote, "You will not have peace. A severe sentence has come out against you, that you should be bound, and you will have neither rest nor mercy, nor the granting of any petitions, because of the wrong which you have taught, and because of all the works of blasphemy and wrong and sin which you have shown to the sons of men." This reminds us of a passage we read in 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 4.
For if God did not spare the angels when they
The
sinned...
possible connection between Azazel and Thoth is further realized when we consider the channeled writings of Dr. Doriel, a man who allegedly had connections to the Great White Lodge. He published the Emerald Tablets of Thoth the Atlantean in 1925, not to be mistaken with the Emerald Tablet or the Smeridine Table that we will reference shortly. In these particular channeled writings, there is a passage that states, quote, "Know ye, O people amongst whom I walk, that I, Thoth, have all of the knowledge and all of the wisdom known to man since the ancient days. Keeper I have been of the secrets of the great race. Holder of the key that leads into fire. Bringer up have I been to ye, O my children, even from the darkness of the ancient of days." Here, Thoth, through Dr. Doriel, claims himself to be the father of mankind, calling us my children. He contrasts himself from the darkness of the Ancient of Days, a title for God in the book of Daniel.
So is Satan Azazel? Thoth? I think he has many names. It says, "As I look, this horn made war with the saints and prevailed over them until the ancient days came, and the judgment was given for the saints of the Most High, and the time came when the saints possessed the kingdom." Daniel 7:21-22.
These clues are a dead giveaway of who is actually behind the identity of Thoth or Azazel. However, the channelings don't end there.
Channelings, mediums, Dr. John Dee and the economic...
Dr. John Dee, who was a 16th century occultist, practiced alchemy and the sacred arts. He believed that the promise of immortality lied in the secrets held by the one the Bible says walked with God for 300 years.
It says, "Then Enoch walked with God 300 years, for God took him." Genesis 5:22-24.
And did not see death, for God took him. While the Bible emphasizes Enoch's unique faith in God, Dr. John Dee felt that it was Enoch's works that allowed him to walk with God and not see death. It would be a mistake to believe that Enoch's privileges were a result of any kind of magical workings or alchemical spells. So what drove Dr. John Dee to pursue such a lofty goal in the first place?
Satan!
Jeffrey James, an author and journalist who's written for Wired.com, the New York Times, among other mainstream media outlets, published a book called The Enochian Evocation back in 1984. This book was a modern translation of angelic communication originally transcribed by Dr. John Dee and his partner Edward Kelly as they gazed into crystal balls in 1582. These so-called angels told Dee that they must re-establish the magical sciences which had been lost due to man's wickedness. They also told Dee that the one who successfully harnesses these magical arts will bestow superhuman powers, change the political landscape, and bring about the apocalypse. Moreover, these so-called angels taught John Dee and Edward Kelly the language of the angels. In the 2009 Weiser edition of the Enochian Evocation of Dr. John Dee, author Jeffrey James wrote in his preface, quote, "I expected my book to be well received by the scholarly community. Instead, most of the interest in the Enochian evocation has come, as far as I can tell, from practicing occultists. Academics have, by contrast, virtually ignored it. The primary reason for the evident distaste among the ivy-colored professors is probably my assertion in the original introduction that the angelic, aka Enochian language, has characteristics suggesting that it has non-human origins. A completely new language that's non-human in origin. Yes, that's the kind of controversial statement that simply won't be tolerated among academics. I might as well clarify that statement, not for their benefit, but simply for the historical record. While I believe that it's probably that the angelic language was devised by somebody, most likely Kelly, either consciously or subconsciously, non-human characteristics do exist in the language, and as such, provide the best proof that we're ever likely to see of the existence of non-corporeal intelligence. Even if such beings are unlikely, the angelic language is still the only example of glossolalia, speaking in tongues, that involves a hitherto unknown language with its own grammar and syntax. This is a very different phenomenon from instances where entranced folks repeat languages they might have heard when a child, or in the case of Pentecostal Christianity,
talking about possessions,
whatever jibber-jabber comes to their heads. In other words, this book is important because it's the only publication, scholarly or otherwise, that fairly assesses the unique and possibly significant phenomenon of the angelic language and how it was dictated. Like all Chinese material, it seemed that what Dr. John Dee and Edward Kelly...
Okay, so that's a lot to take in for the day, you know what I mean? Talking about angelic beings and angelic languages and the dark side. You see these people wearing symbols today. They don't even know what the symbols mean. Or doing as Destiny, or what Beyonce does it. Oh, I'm doing the Rothschild. I'm doing the diamond. You know what I mean? You got everybody doing the one eye. Half the people in the world are doing these symbols and they don't even know what they're doing them for. They're doing them because the other people they're doing them. They're followers. They're a sheep. Bah. Anyway, you've listened to AMKS Goddess Radio, and we talked about the Age of Deceit through Face Like a Sun on YouTube. Thank you for your fair usage and discussion, man. Because, you know, I'm goddess, and I'm not a goddess of this world. I could be an alien. Who knows? Palladium, reptilian, hybrid. The world is changing, folks. And are you changing too? Or are you going to be the Christians that get mutilated and decapitated because we are stopping the change of utopia? Goddess Radio. We say what you think, too afraid to say. Grow a heart universe. Stand up for something, you're going to fall for everything. Peace out.